Eric Ten Hag announcement, step back. Casemiro reportedly fallen out with the manager after the FA Cup final on Saturday. Greenwood apparently is of interest to Borussia Dortmund, and will Manchester United be banned from Europe? These are all of the topics we will be discussing on this evening's show. But before we get into that, please smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on this evening's show. And if this is your first time watching the channel, please do subscribe as well. I will be live throughout the whole of the transfer window. I'll have a video in the morning, a video in the evening, and if anything breaks during the day, I go live as well. So if you want to keep up to date with all of the latest Manchester United news, transfer talk, all of that good stuff, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get involved in the channel. Right, so before we get into all of those topics that I discussed or mentioned just now, I wanted to say goodbye to Anthony Martial. He is officially no longer a Manchester United player. This has been confirmed by the club, and Anthony Martial has put out what I would describe as an emotional message to the Man United fans, thanking them. He's been here for 9 years, remember. I did used to like Anthony Martial. Like, when he first came to United, I was so excited about him. I thought he was going to go on to be world class. I genuinely did. Obviously, that didn't work out. I think he had some really bad injuries. But he did play, over 300 games for Manchester United. But just to give you the summary, Anthony Martial is no longer a Manchester United player. His contract is expired. We will no longer have to pay him 250 grand a week. His last performance for Man United was in December last year. So I'm not, to be honest, sad at all, you know. He was a good player for maybe 6 months, 12 months in 9 years. He definitely was talented, but injuries destroyed him. So it's a shame, really. But hopefully Man United can go and reinvest that money that we're saving in wages and go and bring in another striker. He was on £250,000 a week, which is about £13 million a year. So that's going to be a massive, massive help for us, isn't it? You know, when you think about Rafael Varane leaving, 350k a week, you add Anthony Martial to that, that's another 250k a week. That's £600,000 a week on Martial and Varane, who were injured probably 50% of the time, and maybe that's even being kind. So 600 grand a week saved, about £30 million a year in wages. I mean, that's mad. If you look at, say, Luton Town, for example, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but say Luton Town, right, a Premier League side, their total wages for their whole squad, for the whole team, is £24 million. Anthony Martial and Varane earn more between them than the whole of Luton Town's squad. It's crazy, and that's something that, you know, Ineos need to really address. It's something that Ineos need to sort out, because the biggest issue we have is our wages. We reward either old players who are past their best, or we give people like Anthony massive contracts. It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. And that's why we're in such a financial mess at the moment, because of our inability to be able to reward people correctly. Anthony's a prime example of that. He was on £25,000 a week at Ajax. He signs for Man United. We give Ajax €100 million, which is mental. And then we give Anthony £200,000 a week. We give Casemiro 350 grand a week, when at Real Madrid he was earning about 150. Real Madrid said, we're not going to give you any more money. So he says, I want to leave. And he comes to Man United and we reward him with 350k a week. It's exactly the same thing with Rafael Varane as well. Rafael Varane, clearly a world-class player. You know, on his day, he was clearly a very, very good player. But I don't want to just purely look at it like these players are coming for money, but it's hard to not feel like that. Would you agree? It's hard to not feel like that when Rafael Varane's another example. The season before Rafael Varane joined Manchester United, he was earning 200 grand a week at Real Madrid. And that was in his prime. He leaves Real Madrid and we give him 340 grand a week. At that point, we hadn't won a Premier League title for 8 or 9 years. Real Madrid are winning Champions Leagues and the Ligas every season, pretty much. And we gave someone 150 grand more a week than what he was earning at Real Madrid whilst he was winning the Champions League. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think this is one of the biggest things that Ineos will be critiqued on. It's one of the biggest things that I'm going to look at. Their ability to clear the wage bill, because if we clear the wage bill, it would allow us to spend more money. It's simple. Because financial fair play and profit and sustainability and all the rest of it heavily looks at your wages. And we've got, I think, the second highest wages in the Premier League after Man City. Man City's currently the highest. We're apparently the second highest. Actually, that's incorrect. I've got the stats up here. So Manchester United have the highest wage bill in the Premier League. £3.8 million per week we pay in wages. Man City's 3.7. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? £3.8 million a week in wages, and we haven't won the Premier League for 11 years. We haven't won the Champions League in over 10 years. We've won in the last 6 years, we've won 2 trophies, the League Cup and the FA Cup, and we pay more money than any other club in the Premier League. So I think this is one of the most important things that Ineos really need to home in on, because if they don't get this right, we're just going to carry on crashing further and further and further down. Players will just keep coming here for money, and that's what we need to stamp out. But that's my little rant over about the finances at Man United. I could talk about that for literally the whole 30-minute show. But I know people aren't probably here for that. People are here to talk about Greenwood. They're here to talk about Ten Hag. But I think it's important to change the content up a bit, because if I just sat here and talked about Ten Hag for half an hour again, I think it's a bit boring. And I think we do have to actually focus on other issues. The manager is an important part of the club, of course, but Ineos' ability to grab a handle of the finances is equally as important, because you could have any manager in world football, but if you continue to overpay on, let's be honest, average players, and you reward average players with stupid contracts on crazy money, we're going to be in this same situation in 2, 3 years, 4 years' time. No matter who the manager is. You could go and get Pep, you could go and get Jurgen Klopp, whoever. We'll still be in this same conversation where we're unable to buy the players we want. People just look at us like we're a bunch of mugs, and people rip us off in the transfer market. So this transfer market coming up now is incredibly important for Ineos. They need to prove to us as a fan base that they know what they're doing. And the biggest indicator of that is how they get the wage bill down. Varane leaving, correct decision. Well done, Ineos. 1 point to Ineos. 350 grand a week back in the bank. Anthony Martial leaving, correct decision. 250 grand a week back in the bank. So far, they've got 2 points for that. But now we need to see people like Eriksen going, Donny van de Beek going. If Sancho doesn't want to play for Man United, he needs to go. Like, some of these people are our highest earners, and we need to move them on. But right, we can talk about all of that on another show, because I feel like that could literally be a whole nother show, couldn't it? Let's see who's in the chat this evening. Everyone who's just joined the video, by the way, please smash a like if you haven't already. It really helps to bring more people into the channel. It allows us to do bigger and better things in the future. So make sure you hit the like button. Let's try and see 200 likes on this evening's show. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner, I'm live in the morning. I'm live in the evening, and if anything breaks during the day, I go live as well. So make sure you get involved in the channel. Right, let's go back to the actual topics that I said I would talk about, because I know some people are probably there thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? Let's talk a little bit about this story about Europe then, because I think this is definitely concerning. Very, very concerning. I'll read out where this story's come from. This is a reliable story. It's not like a sensationalist made up story. It's being reported by multiple different outlets in England today. And the headline is this: Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have until Monday to satisfy UEFA that Manchester United and Nice should both be allowed to compete in the Europa League this season. Now, the problem we have, and we spoke about this in the takeover process, this was highlighted many times in the takeover process as to one of the reasons why Ineos shouldn't buy the club, because UEFA's current rules say that 2 teams owned by the same company or person or country or whatever cannot play in the same European contest, because it makes it unfair. That's a UEFA rule. You can go and Google that now. It's a fact. It's not, it's not hearsay. It's not a made up thing. So as it stands, Ineos own Nice, and they also own some of Manchester United. Now, Nice are in the Europa League, and Manchester United are in the Europa League. And I feel like when Ineos bought Manchester United, they probably assumed that Man United would be in the Champions League every season, because that's what they probably expected. And they probably expected that Nice would be in the Europa League or the Conference League. But it just so happens that both Nice and Manchester United are going to be in the same competition. And what happens if they both play against each other? Do you know what I mean? It's 2 clubs owned by the same person supposedly competing against each other. And that's where the problem arises. Worst case scenario. I mean, this is very, very worst case scenario. So take this with a pinch of salt. But this is what UEFA have said. That if it isn't sorted out by Monday, whichever team finished lower in the table between Nice and Manchester United, so in our case, it would be Manchester United. We finished 8th And I think Nice finished 5th, I believe. Yeah, they finished 5th. So whichever of the teams finished lower in their league would drop down to the Conference League. That's the worst possible outcome. The Man United are effectively thrown out of the Europa League and put into the Conference League. Now, I don't know how likely this is, to be honest, but this is what UEFA have said. There probably are some ways that they can get around this. I'm going to be honest, I'm not an expert in the legalities of football. I'm only bringing you the news that I've read today, the news that we spoke about in the summer when people said, what will happen with multi-club ownership what if Man United or Ineos are in the same competition? What will we do then? No one really wanted to talk about that at the time. And Ineos didn't really actually ever give any answer. And it was a question that was being asked constantly. What happens if Man United and Nice are in the same competition? Is that not unfair? Is it an unfair competition? So Ineos have come out and said that they're confident Man United will not be relegated to the Europa Conference League for a breach of UEFA rules. So as it stands at the moment, we have broken UEFA's rules because 2 clubs from the same owner cannot be in the same competition. So yeah, obviously the story goes on to say that both clubs are in the same competition, and Ineos have come out saying, UEFA have come out saying, we are aware of the position of both clubs and we are now in direct talks with Manchester United. We are confident that we will try and find a route forward for us for Europe next season. I don't know what that means, to be honest, but we just have to hope and pray that Ineos know what they're doing here. I imagine they do, but who knows? We will find out by Monday what will happen. That's the deadline. Monday, we will know whether Manchester United can compete in Europe or not. And if we can't, we will be dropped down to the Europa Conference League. Does that mean that Chelsea would then play in the Europa League? I don't know. I don't know all of the finite details of it, to be completely honest. It's something that I need to look into a bit more. But as it stands right now, Ineos are in talks with UEFA to try and find a solution to this problem. People in the chat saying they're going to have to pay them off. I honestly don't know. I have no idea how this situation will resolve itself. But you just have to hope and pray that it does, because it will be will be a laughing stock if we end up having to play the Conference League because we've got 2 owners of the same, 2 clubs owned by the same owner. Just to give you a bit of clarity as well, obviously there is another team who have this same problem at the moment. It's not just us. Manchester City and Girona of La Liga. So they both are owned by the same people, and Man City and Girona have both qualified for the Champions League. And it looks like what Man City are having to do at the moment is restructure their hierarchy. So what they're having to do is effectively change the people who own the club and put a different name on the documents, which sounds a bit dodgy, but apparently that's their way around it. So effectively, someone else who works within the City group would be listed as the owner, even though they're not technically the owner. Does that make sense? So hopefully Ineos can do something similar. I don't know, but apparently they have till Monday to work this out. Obviously, we have to hope and pray that it does get sorted out. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Ed says it's to do with the percentage of ownership. Yeah, it's something to do with that, isn't it? Let's see what else people wanted. Somebody says Jim Ratcliffe wanted a small share of Manchester United, so his legacy will always be written. He had a share and say in United. I don't trust him. And where has he been since January? I'll be honest with you, right? Obviously, I know a lot of Man United fans. I speak to a lot of Man United fans, and a lot of people do seem to already be losing trust in Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I think a lot of people didn't want Sir Jim Ratcliffe. A lot of people wanted Qatar. Obviously, there's no point going into that again because we don't have Qatar, but I think the majority of the fan base wanted the debt cleared, they wanted new owners, and they wanted the Glazers gone. And Jim Ratcliffe effectively hasn't offered that. Jim Ratcliffe's bid has enabled the Glazers, he's kept them, and the debt's remained. It's all the things we didn't want have happened. And there's always going to be that trust issue because we all feel a little bit like we've been betrayed. We all feel a little bit like if Jim Ratcliffe really loved Manchester United, surely he knew that the Glazers staying wasn't best for the club. Surely he knew that the debt remaining wasn't best for the club. And he constantly tells us that he wants to bring us back to glory. He wants to, make Manchester United great again. And all of these taglines that he's cleverly worked out. But when you actually look at what he's trying to do at the moment, I don't know. It's difficult. Obviously, I support Ineos. I want them to do well, but I am cautious. I am concerned. And I think obviously this whole managerial situation at the moment is causing even more trouble because the fans are all sat here scratching their heads saying, How can Ineos genuinely think sacking Erik ten Hag is the right decision? And people are then questioning their sporting integrity. They're questioning their knowledge. They're questioning their ability to run a football club, which is really, really bad when you think that they've only been in the door for 6 months and people are already starting to question it. It's difficult. They're definitely in difficult waters. And even if you flip it on the other side, you know, the people who want Erik ten Hag out are probably sat at home saying, are Ineos going to base their decision off the fan base? I mean, they shouldn't be doing that. They should know what they're doing. And so both sides are unhappy. The people who want Erik ten Hag to be sacked are unhappy because they feel that Ineos are listening to the fan base. And the people who want Erik ten Hag to stay are happy that he might stay, but are also sat there thinking, do these people know what they're doing? Are they just listening to the fan base because they don't want backlash? Like, it's really, really difficult. But yeah, let's move on to the manager. So Europe, we've spoke about. I should be able to keep you updated on that over the next couple of days, but we will find out by Monday what's going to happen and whether Man United will be able to compete in the Europa League. If we don't compete in the Europa League, we would have to drop down to the Conference League because Nice finished above us in their league. They finished 5th, we finished 8th. And UEFA's current rules say that if a club is owned by the same owner, they can't compete in the same competition. And in the instance that they are both in the same competition, whichever club finished lower would be removed from the competition. So that's where we are as it stands. And there is apparently really, really heated debates going on between Ineos and UEFA to try and resolve this issue. Let's hope that it happens, and let's hope that we aren't in the Conference League because that would be absolutely embarrassing. Okay. Although, to be fair, we don't even deserve to be in the Conference League after how we performed in the Premier League, do we? We finished 8th. Although it was sweet to rob Newcastle of the Conference League and Chelsea of the Europa League, they deserved it more than we did. But that's how football works sometimes, isn't it? Football's unfair. We won the FA Cup. We got the Europa League. We didn't deserve the Europa League, but I don't really care, to be honest. Right, let's see what people are saying in the comments section. We've got over 700 people watching this evening, which is amazing. Big ups to everybody who is joining me tonight. If you have just joined, please smash a like on the video. Doesn't cost you any money. It's completely free. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. I will be live throughout the whole of this transfer window. I'll have a video for you in the morning. I'll have a video for you in the evening. So if this is your first time watching, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get involved here on Daily Red Devil. Jarvis Cocker says, Kieran, will you come on a guest on my show? Yeah, I'm always up for collabing with other people. I haven't really done any collabs yet, but yeah, for sure, mate. I'll drop my email in the chat. All right, I've just put my email in there for you, Jarvis. But anyway, back to the show. Right, let's talk about Mason Greenwood. I'm getting confused because obviously it's Dortmund, isn't it? But there's a big story that dropped this evening from a reliable source here in the UK saying that Borussia Dortmund are interested in signing Mason Greenwood and will contact Manchester United about the 22-year-old after the Champions League final on Saturday against Real Madrid. Imagine if they go for Greenwood and Sancho. I'll be honest, that would solve a lot of problems for us. Jadon Sancho doesn't have a future at Man United for me. Somebody with that attitude should not be rewarded by being allowed to play for Man United again. I'm sorry. I don't care whether people say he's a good player. I don't care whether people say, did you see the performance against PSG? In my opinion, Jadon Sancho hasn't done that well for Dortmund, to be honest. If you actually look at his stats over the whole time he's been there, he scored the same amount of goals and got the same amount of assists as Antony in that same time. And most Man United fans think Antony should never play for the club again because he's terrible. So anybody sat at home saying, Jadon Sancho's amazing, you know, Erik ten Hag treated him badly, we need to bring him back. He's a good player, but I don't think he's the player that everyone kind of hoped and thought he would be. Sell him to Dortmund, get the money in, go and buy Elise. It's simple. It really, really is simple. We've got Ahmad, we've got Garnacho. Obviously, we've got Marcus Rashford, who I know obviously causes debate. You go and get Elise and you're sorted. That's all we need. We don't need anybody else in those positions, to be honest. So for me personally, Jadon Sancho to Dortmund, I think that will probably happen. And I can see Mason Greenwood going to Dortmund. In my opinion, though, I think we'll loan him to Dortmund. I don't think Dortmund will buy him. I think it will be another loan. And then Man United will keep testing the waters. They'll see what the fans think of this. Because I still think there is a world where at some point, Manchester United try and bring Mason Greenwood back. It's the same as anything, isn't it? Where they let the dust settle a bit. They let the mood calm down. They let the anger calm down. And then 1, 2, 3 years down the line, they try and bring him back again. Remember, Manchester United were literally on the brink of announcing that Mason Greenwood was going to come back. The Athletic caught wind of this story. The Athletic leaked the story, and within 24 hours, Manchester United decided they didn't want to bring him back because of all the backlash, because of the women's team, the people saying that they wouldn't support Man United again if Mason Greenwood came back, which again, I'm not going to get into whether that's right or wrong. We've spoke about that many, many times on the channel before. I'm just giving you the facts that Manchester United planned for Mason Greenwood to come back into the first team last season. That got leaked without Manchester United knowing, and Manchester United faced a lot of backlash for that. So anybody who sits at home and says, Manchester United don't want Greenwood to come back, they clearly do, because otherwise they wouldn't have made that decision, would they? I think Mason Greenwood to Dortmund, I would say, is a very, very likely option for him. There is a strong interest there, but I think as it stands, as at the point of recording this video, I think it will be a loan move. We'll obviously wait and see what happens. I'll keep you updated on that one, but it's definitely one to watch this transfer window. We'll have to wait and see though. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Rajat says, do you want to sign Jean-Claire Todibo? Yes, I would love to see Jean-Claire Todibo at Manchester United. But the news I'm getting this evening, which might or might not please some of you, is that apparently Man United are desperate to sign Braithwaite. Apparently, that's who Jim Ratcliffe wants. I don't know. I personally think Todibo is a better option than Braithwaite, but I can also understand the attraction to Braithwaite, 21 years of age, already playing for Everton in the Premier League, had a really, really good loan out in the Eredivisie the season before last. He's an English player, which I know most people, that doesn't mean anything, but from the homegrown quota thing, having an English player, 21 years of age, who could be there for 10 years is really, really important, because obviously you need to have a certain amount of homegrown players, whereas obviously Jean-Claire Todibo wouldn't be a homegrown player because he's never played in England before. So I can see why the attraction to him there, to Braithwaite is, but apparently Everton are asking for £80 million for Jared Braithwaite. I mean, that's ridiculous money, in my opinion. £80 million. He's probably worth 40, maybe 50, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Somebody says, why is Greenwood leaving? We need another striker. The thing is, mate, is Mason Greenwood a good player? Yes. Would he improve our team? Yes. But you have to look at the bigger picture here. It's not as simple as, is Mason Greenwood good or not? Yes or no. So I get your point. Big ups to Fred, who's just gifted 5 memberships to the Daily Red Devils Members Club. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Everyone who's just been gifted a membership by Fred, please do say thank you in the chat. He always supports the channel. He's an absolute legend. So, let me know what you guys think. But just to summarise that bit of the show, Todibo is a really, really good option for Manchester United, available for £40 million, but apparently Man United want Braithwaite. And he's going to cost us 60 to 80, apparently. Everton have asked for 80. Jim Ratcliffe said you're having a laugh. And apparently Everton would settle at around 60, which I still think is too much personally. If we had 300, 400 million to spend this summer, 60 million would be a good amount of money to spend. But when we're hearing that our budget is only 100 million, plus whatever we can make from sales, I don't see how you can spend 60 million on Braithwaite and feel okay with it. Whereas 40 million for Todibo and then going and signing Tosin as a free agent, you've got 2 centre-backs there and you're sorted. KT55 says, your dislike for Sancho is unreal. He isn't easy to sell. He has to be willing to leave and agree his wage, while the club too is willing to accept the sale price. Well, we know that Dortmund want to keep him, and we know that he wants to stay at Dortmund. Dortmund have money. They're in the Champions League next season. They're in the Champions League final. Dortmund have money to spend this summer. So anybody who says, oh, Dortmund don't have any money, Dortmund have plenty of money to spend. Let's have a look what else people are saying in the chat. Alan says, I think Todibo is actually better than Braithwaite, but I don't see him coming to Manchester United. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really seen that much of Jean-Claire Todibo. I've seen glimpses of him and I think he looks good. I've seen a lot more of Braithwaite and I think he is a solid player, but for 60 million, I think they're having a laugh. But I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's move on to this story about Casemiro, because There was murmurs on the FA Cup final day that something had happened, but I didn't really want to focus on it negatively on the day because I just thought, this is such a big day, such a big occasion. Let's focus on the game. We've got enough toxic stuff going on with the manager, so let's leave the Casemiro story for now. But obviously the dust has settled and more news has come out around it, so I'm bringing you that news tonight. And the headline this evening is that apparently Erik ten Hag and Casemiro have fallen out. Apparently Casemiro was hurt and upset by Erik ten Hag's decision to drop him for the FA Cup final. But you know what? I actually applaud Erik ten Hag for that. Because if Erik ten Hag had played Casemiro, we might have lost that game. Casemiro has been terrible this season. Absolutely awful. I'm sorry. In midfield, he's been awful. And then even at centre-back, you can't really judge him as a centre-back because he's not a centre-back. But he's not been good at centre-back either. He's tried his best. He's made himself available. But he's been awful. He's been crap. There's no way of glossing it over to make it sound better than it was. He's not been good enough. And I think that Erik ten Hag dropping Casemiro was such a big decision, and it was the correct decision. So it's all good and well that Casemiro is upset and hurt, but surely, if anything, it should just be a sign to Casemiro that he's not an elite footballer anymore. He was the best CDM in world football for a decade. He's won more trophies than probably the whole of the Man United squad combined, apart from Varane. He's won more Champions Leagues than Erik ten Hag will win in his whole career. Is he a player who will be remembered for the next 100 years? Yes. But he's not that player anymore. And Erik ten Hag dropping him for the FA Cup final was the correct decision. 100%. Amrabat has been much better than Casemiro this season. Is Amrabat ever going to be on the level of Casemiro? No. But based on the current ability of those players at this age, one of them being 27, Amrabat, and in their prime, and one of them being 32 in Casemiro, and it looks like his legs have gone. I mean, some pundits have been saying it looks like he's been playing like a charity match. He's that bad. And you know what? When I watched Casemiro recently, I genuinely feel like that as well. I feel like he's competing in like a soccer aid game or something, So as much as I'm sure it's upsetting that Casemiro wasn't involved, it was the correct decision. But Casemiro is apparently not taking it well. He's not happy with Erik ten Hag. They've fallen out. And it now looks likely that Casemiro will be leaving the club. Apparently there are 3 clubs from Saudi who are interested in signing him this summer. They're going to offer him lucrative contracts and are also going to give Manchester United a sizable fee. We'll wait and see how much money we actually end up getting for that. But you can let me know in the comment section, guys, how much do you think would be a good fee for Casemiro? Let me know in the comment section. For me, I would kind of base his fee somewhere around what Liverpool got for Fabinho. I think that's a really, really good kind of benchmark. Fabinho obviously left the Premier League club around the same age and moved to the Saudi League. It's like for like, and Liverpool got 46.7 million euros for him, which is about 40 million pounds. So I think for Casemiro, you've got to be looking 30 to 40 million pounds minimum. That's kind of the bracket that you need to be looking at. I think he'll go. Obviously, Ronaldo's apparently really pushing for him to come to Al Nassr. I think he's got maybe 1 year left of his current contract. I'll just double check that for you. It might be more, actually. It might be 2 years. But yeah, Casemiro, it's been an absolute honour to have you as a Manchester United player. You were unbelievable last season. I will always remember you because he is a world-class player or has been a world-class player. The same with Varane. I was at the game where Varane was unveiled, the Leeds game where we won 5-1. And honestly, that was one of the best games I've ever been to in my life. No one knew it was going to happen, and Varane walks out onto the pitch, and then we go and beat Leeds 5-1. I was at that game, and honestly, it was such a special day and a special atmosphere. So thank you, Casemiro. It's been an absolute pleasure, but it's time for you to leave. So yeah, lots of people in the chat saying Casemiro's finished. KT55 says, you are so disrespectful of Casemiro. He slotted our defence when we needed him, and because we won the FA Cup without him, he is now crap. Mate, he's been terrible all season. I said, I was very respectful. I said, Casemiro made himself available, which I respect. He tried his best, but he's just not good enough anymore. He's not good enough in the midfield, and obviously he's never going to be good as a centre-back because he's not a centre-back. Mandeep says, can we keep Amrabat? I think we should keep Amrabat. Amrabat has a release clause of £17.1 million. We should go and do that right now. Sell Casemiro, £30 million minimum, and bring in Amrabat. Is Amrabat world class? No, but he is definitely a good squad player and will improve our team. So, right, we spoke about Casemiro. We spoke about all the other stuff. I'll obviously keep you updated on all of these things. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell, because whenever anything breaks, I'll go live. So make sure you get involved in that. Right, moving over to the manager. I've tried to save the manager right till the end because I feel like all of our shows recently have just been talking about the manager for like half an hour. And I think it has got a little bit boring for everyone. So I hope everyone doesn't mind. I've saved the manager bit right till the very, very end. But the headline this evening is going to be one that's going to frustrate you. Multiple different journalists are saying that apparently we won't find out what's going to happen with Erik ten Hag this week, and that apparently a decision is not imminent and that they're going to make us wait. It just does my head in, to be honest. And being completely honest with you guys, I think this is just a way of Ineos delaying it, letting the FA Cup triumph kind of quiet down. So everyone's kind of forgot about it a little bit. And then next week, they'll just say, we've decided to part ways with Erik ten Hag and Roberto De Zerbi's coming. And people will still be annoyed, but I think if they announced it today that Ten Hag was going, there would be absolute outrage. People would be furious. Whereas if they wait a little bit, they let it die down, it seems like a clever tactic to me. And it worries me. It does. But you know my stance. I don't want to go over it over and over again. I want Erik ten Hag to stay. I think he's the right man for the job. I think he's earned another season. But it's obviously not up to me, is it? Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Mark says, you say Casemiro has been crap all season and should go, but Erik ten Hag has been crap all season and you want him to stay. It's a fair point. It's not like for like though, is it? Casemiro is one player in a 20-man squad. Casemiro is 32 years of age. Casemiro is at the end of his career. Casemiro is on £350,000 a week. He's our highest earning player. Casemiro gets injured a lot now that he's older. Whereas that's Casemiro, okay? Erik ten Hag, he's been here for 2 years. In the first season, he won us the League Cup and got us third place. The first time in 6 years we won a trophy. The second season, he had 60 different centre-back partnerships. He had 35 different back four combinations. He had a ridiculous amount of injuries, the most injuries out of any team in the Premier League. He managed to get us 8th and win us an FA Cup. I don't think it's comparable, to be honest. A manager is for a project, whereas acknowledging that a player like Casemiro was world-class a couple of years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, but is now past his best, it's a different conversation, you know? I like Casemiro. I just think that if we want to be the club that we all aspire to, we need to be looking to move on players like this. If he was on like 50 grand a week, then you'd obviously keep him as a backup option. But if anybody at home can genuinely justify us paying Casemiro 350k a week to play in the Europa League, like, I just don't understand your logic. That's the main thing for me, you know? Can you seriously at home sit there and say that Casemiro, based on his performances, deserves to be paid 350k a week? Like, how? Doesn't make any sense. But maybe I'm looking at it differently. Maybe you think he does. Maybe you think that, you know, he's earned that 350k a week. But for me, I can't do that. Erik ten Hag earns 150k a week. So you have to look at all of this with the full perspective. Right, let's see what people are saying in the comments section quickly. Somebody says, I would keep Varane on a 2-year contract and sell Harry and Lindelof. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the fan base did want Varane to stay, but apparently he didn't want to accept a lower contract. So you have to look at this from the other perspective always as well. You can't just look at it purely from, I want Varane to stay. Varane wanted to stay, but he wanted to keep earning the same amount of money because he knows he can go to Saudi and probably earn double what he's earning now. So if Varane wanted to stay that much, then he could have, been like, all right, cool, I'll reduce my salary. But he knows that football is a short-lived sport, He knows that he's probably only got a couple of years left, and he knows that he has a potential payday in Saudi of double what he's earning now. So as frustrating as it is, you have to understand it. Let's see what else people are saying in the comments quickly. Get in your comments and stuff, guys. I'll read out some before the end of the show. Anybody who's just joining the video late, you'll have to go back and watch from the beginning. I don't want to repeat everything that I've already gone through, because obviously it makes it pretty unenjoyable for those who've been here from the beginning. So anybody who's joined the stream late, obviously watch back through and you'll be able to find out everything that I've spoke about. What have we got? Right, let me have a sip of my water quickly, and then we'll finish up the show. Right, where are we? So there is some breaking news actually coming out from Fabrizio Romano about the managerial situation. So let's talk about this really, really quickly. So Fabrizio has just come out with the following. Fabrizio is saying that many managers are waiting to see what's going on at Manchester United, as they're really attracted by the possibility of managing the club. He says at the moment there is no current frontrunner for the United job. There are many candidates. Now, I said this to you guys on the show this morning. I said this multiple times, that at the moment, the vultures are after Erik ten Hag's job. Those vultures being Poch, Tuchel, Graham Potter. I mean, even people like Conte and Mourinho are probably dreaming that they're going to get a call up. These people are all without clubs. These people are all desperate to come and manage Manchester United, and they're desperate to put out stories saying that this, that, and the other's happened. And I think the key thing is here that if, as Fabrizio says, Ineos don't have a front runner being a favourite, an obvious choice. That's what multiple people have said over the last couple of days, that Ineos don't have an obvious choice. They don't have one person who they're like, yes, that's the right man. They have 4 or 5 people that they're interviewing, asking questions, seeing what their plans are. And for me, that's a red flag. And that's why I'm so anti getting rid of Erik ten Hag, because there isn't an obvious candidate. There are lots of managers out there who have some positives, but also have some negatives. There isn't like one amazing manager. Like when Van Gaal got sacked, for example, right? Everybody in the fan base was excited about Jose Mourinho because he was available, he wanted the job, and it made sense. Whereas at the moment, there isn't that manager there. Every single manager we're linked to has major flaws. Poch won nothing at Tottenham, failed at PSG, and has just been sacked by Chelsea. Thomas Frank, a very good manager, but he manages Brentford. They're 16th in the Premier League. He's never won a trophy in his career. Roberto De Zerbi did really well at Brighton in the first season and then finished 10th in the second season. Hasn't ever won anything in his career. Graham Potter did well at Brighton, left Brighton, and then was sacked by Chelsea after 3 months. Gareth Southgate. I don't even want to talk about Gareth Southgate. He's not even worth mentioning. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, those are the people that we're linked to. And the fact that these reliable journalists are coming out saying that there isn't an obvious candidate and that Ineos are continuing to talk to different people, surely that's enough of a... Surely they've answered the question themselves. If there isn't somebody they're 100% about, keep Erik ten Hag. And if at Christmas it doesn't work, maybe another manager's available, Maybe a Nagelsmann's available. The Euros will be over. Maybe Nagelsmann says, you know what? I can't turn down the opportunity to manage Man United. I'm not going to stay at the German national team till the World Cup. Let's talk. And I would be open to that. But I just think at this moment in time, there isn't an obvious candidate. This is being reported by everybody. There's no obvious candidate, So it is silly, isn't it, really? Let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. Everyone who's just joined, by the way, please smash a like on the video. Let's try and get to 300 likes on this evening's stream. And make sure you subscribe as well. I will be live throughout the whole transfer window. So if this is your first time watching, do subscribe. I'll be live in the morning, in the evening. And if anything breaks during the day, I go live as well. So make sure you get involved. Hit the subscribe button. And yeah, have your say. Do you want Erik ten Hag to stay? Do you want him to go? Let me know what you think. Right. Just to be clear as well, there are some journalists that are putting out stories that are not even worth the paper they're written on. Like, there's one journalist this evening saying that apparently De Zerbi's going to be appointed. And then you go and look into these journalists and they're like tier 4 sources. And I always try and make that clear, like on these shows. I know some of the headlines, and like the subjects of the videos and stuff are like saying all the information in it, right? But I do go and verify the stories before I bring them to you, and I do check the reliability of the stories. Like, I could literally have done a video this evening saying that Erik ten Hag's been sacked and De Zerbi's the new manager, because some journalists are saying that. But when you actually look at these journalists, they're like so far down on the tier list that it's not even worth talking about, you know? But yeah. Let's read the poll out. So, over 1,000 people have voted in this evening's poll, which is absolutely amazing. So big ups to everyone who's watched the video today. And the question was this: would you lose trust in Ineos if they make the wrong decision with Erik ten Hag? 80% of people said yes, and 20% of people said no. And I'm in the camp of yes. I would lose trust. The fact that Ineos effectively don't know who they want, they don't have an obvious candidate, but yet they still were going to sack the manager. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't add up. I know they're football experts, and I'm just a person sat in front of my camera talking about the club I love. But if they don't even know who they want, and that's widely reported as, verified knowledge, then why are they doing it? When 80 to 85% of the fan base want Erik ten Hag to stay. Yeah, it's very, very stupid. Somebody says, as a United season ticket holder, I'm definitely printing Ineos out and chanting it from the stand. I'm not that far down the line yet. I think that's a little bit premature. Obviously, you can do what you like. If you are a season ticket holder and you spend your money going to the stadium and that's what you want to do, that's obviously completely fine. That's up to you. I'm not going to stop you. Obviously, I can't stop you from doing that, but I'm not going to be Ineos out if they sack Erik ten Hag. I support Manchester United at the end of the day, right? I don't support Erik ten Hag. If Erik ten Hag leaves Manchester United, I'm not going to suddenly start supporting whoever Erik ten Hag manages. I'll be upset. I'll be disappointed. I'll be confused. I'll be cautious of Ineos. But I'm still going to back Ineos. I'm going to give them time. How much time, I don't know. 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm not even saying that I want to win the Premier League. I'm just saying that I want to see a difference from the Glazers. I want to see them communicate with us. I want to see them sort out our wage bill. I want to see the signings improve. I want to see Carrington become the best training facility in the world. I want to see the Old Trafford become the best training facility stadium in the world. Like, there are so many things that I want to see from Ineos that actually have nothing to do with us winning trophies, because we're so far behind the rest. Does that make sense? What else we got? Somebody's... Right. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's been an amazing stream. We've had over 800 people watching live. As I said, if this is your first time watching, please do make sure to smash a like before you go and subscribe to the channel. I'll be live again at 11 a.m. tomorrow, UK time. And if anything breaks, I'll go live right away. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Welcome to Daily Red Devil if this is your first time watching. If you're a regular or someone who's been here from the start, thank you for all your support. Been an amazing show tonight. And thank you for all being here with me. I'll speak to you all at 11 a.m. tomorrow. This has been Daily Red Devil. Speak soon.